Today, I wanted to talk about tips for when life gets hard. There's a lot going on right now for everyone, everywhere, and so I feel like it's a relevant topic. And it's the question is, how do you deal with that? I know I feel stress and strain. There are anxieties that we're all feeling at times, and so how do you deal with that? And so that was my goal today, is to talk about and to try to just help out with ideas for dealing with uh, like I said, when things get hard. So just if you have any questions, please just drop those in. But yeah, I got some notes to kind of start off with. Generally speaking, when it comes to you know the pain that we're feeling every day, and that can be great pain, that can be small pain, whatever it is that's vexing us. Um, I would say first and foremost, acknowledge that you're feeling pain. It's trying to hide from or tough it out to oh, I'm not in pain. I'm not suffering. I'm not feeling this or that. It's okay to acknowledge. In fact, it's healthier to acknowledge that you're having a hard time, that you're having this pain. There are those who will actually kind of relish and who really are um, uh, I get it. I'm trying to think ahead, but using pain as a motivator, you can very much do that. I've been there. I've done that. I've used my pain as motivation. That's a double-edged sword. So something to be cautious with. So if pain is a motivator for you, cool. But I wouldn't let someone tell you, hey, you take that pain and you use it. If it's a pain, or that you can alleviate, if it's a pain, if it's some element of suffering that doesn't have to exist in your world, in your life, if you can mitigate it in some way, of course, let's go ahead and do that. But there are some larger elements that just can't be addressed, by the individual. I think that's another element to think about. We take on a lot, and it's I would say that we're good people. You are a good person. Um, it's not unusual for good people to feel a sense of responsibility for things that are much larger than them. You may take on responsibility for, or feel a sense of responsibility for issues that you didn't create. And I'm talking about like big systemic issues. I mean, like, if a major polluter has, poisoned the water, and so, you're feeling you should feel angry at that. But also at the same time, if you are like being ultra cautious with water, yes, I get it, but at the same time, you didn't cause that issue, and it's not yours to fix. We may play a small role in that, but I think we oftentimes will, I don't want to say overblow, or overextend our sense of responsibility in those situations. But I would say that you've got to put a try to
Well,
put
healthy
in.
boundaries,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, because there's only so much we can do. Just using that as an example, it's not that we shouldn't care about the environment, that we
right.
shouldn't be responsible citizens, and take necessary actions. But our effect is so negligible compared to the people actually responsible for
Mhm.
the vast, vast majority of pollution.
Yeah,
So why twist ourselves up and feel all this guilt when there's not much that we can do on that kind of micro level? And I think that's a good example that can be contrasted with a lot of life situations.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the thing is you're creating a scenario for yourself that it you're creating that stress and strain that may not be entirely appropriate. Now, I'm not going to name a major or oil and gas company, but but there are major companies that are vast polluters, and that's all known. That's not a political statement. That's just we know that certain companies just are really their industry is very hard on the environment. That's not to say that you need to be careless as well. I mean, I change the oil in my vehicles. I don't go, out back and pour the spent oil, in the, in the backyard. No, you responsibly collect the oil and go and return it to the proper disposal location. But yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying hurrah for me. Look at the environmentalist I am. I mean, I think you should just change your oil appropriately, correctly. But at the same time, don't assign too much guilt as well, um, for what you can't control. So anyway, all of that is to say that I think some people get a little heavy on their pain. And in fact, because, and this is, I would say, kind of a coping mechanism. And I don't say that in like a clinical sense, just in that if you have a lot of pain, if you've got a lot going on in your life, I think we've all met that person that pain kind of becomes their personality. Have you ever met that person that's just like, oof,
Oh yeah.
they are very, they got a lot to say. They've got a lot going on. It's uncommon to hear something good from them.
Like your classic psychic vampire situation.
I,
Like I
I
think
didn't
about
want
the
to say that,
caricature
but
in
yes, but
what we do
yes,
in the shadows. Yeah, and that's not to diminish anybody's, lived experience or anything awful. I mean,
right,
most people go through horrible things and trauma, and some
yeah.
some certainly worse than others. But it's just, I think it's just all about boundaries and appropriateness, and
Mhm. Even within yourself,
yeah, even yeah.
yeah. Because I mean, that's the thing is, it's I think when you kind of get into that scenario of you kind of worshiping your pain becoming your personality, um, that's that's an inappropriateness with yourself. And so just a thought there. I would say, and I'm reading from my notes. I had a lot of thoughts today, so I took notes on this. Um, I would say if you can try to learn a lesson from, and I don't mean that in like a big self-helpy sort of way, but why am I feeling this pain? What's going on? Why am I experiencing this? Was it something that I did? I mean, is it something external to me? Is it something I brought into my life? Did I invite this issue into my world? And that's not blaming yourself. That's not, again, there's no guilt in this. What we want to do is essentially dissect, or kind of have an after action review. Wow, that didn't go as I planned. So I think trying to appropriately step back from your pain, there's this idea of there's the element of you that experiences uh, pain. There's or that experiences something. There's an element of you that experiences the event, and that's kind of, I'd say, closer to the front. But behind, there's the inner person, and not everyone has this. But if you have that ability to be cognizant, I am experiencing this. If you have that ability to be cognizant that you are experiencing a not great time, a bad time, then you have the ability to kind of step back a little bit further and actually, let's like I said, dissect what happened here, and let's learn from it. Was I rash? Did I miscalculate? Anything like that. So I would say that that's really important. I try to do that because at the same time, I too have been known to take some rash actions, and so it's very important that I also recognize that that'll happen. So I would say definitely trying to learn from that. Being honest with your emotions. I would say being honest with the fact that I think sometimes the idea is I'm going to muscle through this. I'm just going to kind of ignore. I don't want to say ignore, because you're not ignoring it, but you're definitely kind of suppressing that we're not having a good time. I would say think of a disaster movie, and you always have that one character that's kind of in denial of, oh, it's not so bad, it's okay, it's all going to blow over. Whereas we, the viewer of the film, or the story, we know that it's much worse or whatever. So I'm not saying that your scenario is much worse than you think, but I would say that having the honesty of the emotions, understanding, wow, things aren't great, at the same time being able to appropriately acknowledge it. Don't dwell on it, but say, hey, we're not having a good time here. So don't suppress it. Don't be in denial. That doesn't help anything. In fact, it can exacerbate um, the scenario, depending on what's going on. If you've got bills due and you just act like, oh, I don't have any bills due, then that's it's going to come back. And I hate to use that example, but I would just anything like that. Basically, when the tire is low in pressure, you got to put some air in it. If you don't, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah,
So
you don't want to just sit there and dwell and think, oh wow, that sucks that my car is not driving well. When especially if you like have the means to get it fixed. If
yes,
you ignore it and just instead you just like text all your friends and complain, there's definitely time and space for that. Like, I know I'm going to my group chat and be like, oh, it sucks so much that I have to go get my tire changed or whatever. But then you actually have to go and get your tire changed. You have to go do the thing and find your way through the world, or else things will get very bad very quickly.
she hasn't had to change her tire in a very
Well, I have this big, strong, handsome man to give it to me, of course.
I got a ton of so I can fix things. So anyway,
So we have somebody who's joined the live. I'm saying that they've studied pagan shamanic witchcraft, Hinduism, Buddhism, and New Age. How about you? Have you studied a lot of religions?
Oh my God. So yes, I'm really happy to hear that, and always happy to talk to someone else. I would say it's I kind of this might be a kind of a rough analogy, but I like to think of myself as something of a polyglot of religions. I love to be able to speak to different traditions because I think that there's some commonalities in there, and so being able to approach the human condition, humans, us, myself, through different philosophies, through different theologies, to find those through lines. Yes, most recently I finished. Oh God, I forgot his names. I forgot his name. I just finished a book on Tantra. Fantastic book. We'll have to put it in the comments later. But yes, fantastic book on Tantra. Really, and it wasn't the kind of Western sex Tantra sort of thing. This was which has kind of become its own thing, and that's fine. But no, this was actually a historic and kind of theological look at the original non-dualistic Shaiva Tantrism. Uh, Fantastic book. Really enjoyed it. God, okay, I'm feeling guilty. I need to go find.
I know. I'm looking at Amazon. I can't remember the guy's name. Very
it.
knowledgeable. You were listening on
Yeah. I was listening to it on Audible. Let me go get it. That was Tantra Illuminated: The Philosophy, History, and Practice of a Timeless. I can't read the rest of it, but Christopher Wallace. Christopher Wallace's Tantra Illuminated. I of course, I've studied Buddhism. I think you mentioned Satanism. Yes, I've studied LeVay, and yeah. So I mean, I'm all over the map. When I was in the army, decades and decades ago, years and years ago, I studied with a rabbi for quite a while. I'd even started kind of I started learning Hebrew and that sort of thing. I've studied with a lot of different religions, from Catholicism, different Protestant denominations, into heathen pagan communities. So all over. I think I mentioned Buddhism, but yeah. So definitely, I'm with you. I think being able to speak many different languages, literally, and also being able to speak to and with many different theologies is important. It's my personal philosophy is it's on our website is the kind of that heart first philosophy. So I'm very love driven, and not to say that other paths are not, but I've kind of formulated this kind of thing that I want to follow and kind of that I practice. But yeah, I'm very much of the mind that it's good to study religions. It's good to study theology, um, both the theological element, the historic element, um, and but also be broad. Look at others. I grew up, like many Americans. Obviously I'm in the U.S. I grew up like many Americans in a Christian denomination. I was really active. Pardon me. I was really active in my church growing up. Read the Bible. I mean, like literally, we had a lot of Bible study.
You read it several times all the way through, haven't you? You used to do it on road trips.
Yes, and not in a bragging way. I'm sorry. Some people like to do that. I have read the Bible several times. I'm currently working through it again. on Audible. I have like 4 or 5 books that I'm kind of cycling through. But yeah, yeah, so right now I'm doing the ESV. I think I'm doing the ESV version of the Bible. So I like different translations as well. So yeah, fantastic question or comment. Thank you. And yes, please keep studying. It's always fun, even if you have your own path. Go and study other religions. See what's going on with other people. Some people never leave their one tradition. And that's okay if that's what works for them. Cool. Um, but I think being able to approach them in their language with their theology while having, a foundation of others really makes for fun conversation. It makes you a good conversationalist with them. You don't have to be demeaning. You don't have to be rude. But yeah, yeah, that's my thought there. Sorry.
Yeah, and so the same commenter, Juan, he says, all the religions I've studied fall under New Age, which I believe started with the hippies. I love watching documentaries on hippies and seeing how their legacy continues to inspire. You do a lot of that too. You
Oh,
love hippie
oh my
documentaries.
goodness, yes. I don't get me started on Timothy Leary. And I mean that in both a good and bad
I've
way.
seen Men Hysterical. That's a good movie.
I the impact of the introduction. So I was talking about Shaiva Tantra, non-dualistic Tantra, and its introduction into the U.S. Back in the like I say 20s and 30s, and then the real explosion of Eastern religions in the 50s and 60s in the U.S. We are still living with the reverberations of that, and there have been successive waves of Orientalism in Western culture. I mean, you can see that in architecture and in fashion and in thought. I mean, you can go back to just different artistic movements. Crowley and all sorts of people have really incorporated um, elements of and again, I'm speaking very broadly and in that Western sense um, of Orientalism and the East being brought into the West. But yeah, when you get to the 60s, you have a lot of people who just started exploring, and I love that. It was a crazy time of exploration of both fashion, art, political thinking, and the ability to get out of yourself. It was a lot of people saw it as being rebellious, but I think that there were a lot of people who also saw an opportunity to explore new ideas and get out of certain modalities. Of I'm trying to be polite in this. Um, there were some people who wanted to kind of break free of these rigid ideas of right and wrong, of very stringent um, moralities as dictated by others, and so the opportunity to experience the world through their own mind, through their practice. Pardon me. My allergies have been acting up today. the Yoga. The yoga that's practiced in the West is not the yoga that was originally practiced in India and elsewhere. But the opportunity to explore mindfulness, that was something that wasn't, I would say, readily available. There's prayer. There are opportunities. I think that there are ways to feel. I don't want to say enlightened, but certainly inspired in song and dance and all that in the Western tradition. But when you introduce, or when yoga was introduced and other forms of meditation, that really, yeah, that had a big impact. Obviously, and it also kind of spurred the environmentalist movement. Yeah, that really made a difference, especially, I'm speaking of the U.S. It made a big difference in the United States. It created all these various, you had Eckhart Tolle and you had all these Tolle and all these different thoughts and practices and divergent paths created, and it really, I would say, added a lot of flavor and a lot of enjoyment to the landscape in the U.S. And did you get interesting groups? Yes. I think the Krishnas are that's that's definitely a practice, and it's fun to. I kind of like I enjoy running into Krishnas now and then. Of course, out and about. They're great people. They're fun. But then you also had, I would say, the kind of the darker side of things. The Reverend singing Moon, and some of that, and then of course you can't speak about the '60s New Age movements and people who kind of took advantage of that. And so talk about Manson and stuff like that. Not that Manson was a movement or anything like that, but there were people who were looking to exploit that vulnerability that people had, and that joyful desire to explore their minds, explore the world, explore a different way of being. Um, and so I think for the vast majority of people, they had good experience, and to a degree, that good experience is still here. We still have some good groups. We still have, I think people that are still very positively minded, who are trying to help and change the world however they can. And I think that that's wonderful. And anything that someone can do to elevate thought, elevate emotion, anything that they can do to try to make the world a better place, that's fantastic. This is what we're trying to do in our own right. So yeah, I think it was really cool that what happened in the '60s. It started in the '50s, exploded in the '60s, the '70s, and even into the '80s. You had a lot of different divergent um, thoughts coming about, and yeah, the new age landscape is it's fun. I really enjoy it. Some of it gets a little silly. I'm not an Atlantean. I don't. I'm not convinced yet of Atlantis. But if that's what float your boat. So
Vote Atlantis.
Atlantis boat.
What's your
But
summary?
but yeah, if that's if that's what kind of helps you know make it through the day, that's fantastic. So that's really cool. No, great conversation. Um, Anything else, or should I move
Oh
on?
yeah, and Alanis responded that I most closely follow Krishna in the Fae as family and friends and the Violet Flame, but my life continues to return to love and light. Yeah,
Oh
word.
no,
Same.
fantastic. So there's I think it was on Threads. I think Dr. Evie behind the camera was talking about. I brought home some treats, some cookies and berries and stuff, and so I'm always trying to find like books that Dr. Evie might be interested in every chance I get. And so if I can pick up a little book somewhere, I'll always snag it.
It's because I'm one of the Fae, and he knows that he has to appease me
And so
to keep the
yes,
balance
and
of the
so
household.
so she was like, it's really it was a lot of fun, and so I like to play and think of myself as kind of an Oberon like character, probably a little more Nick Bottom, but put the mule, the donkey mask on, but I do try to I like the idea of the Fae. That's a great idea. I like it's fun, and that's something right there. I think decorating the yard, or acting in this manner of acknowledging whoever it is, I like to acknowledge the Fae, or whatever elements that are inspiring to you. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. So we joke of Oberon and Titania here. So that's funny that you mentioned that.
I always like the concept of the violet flame, like mixing the blue flame of power and the pink flame of love, or whatever. And that came from Saint Germain, I think, right? That makes me think of what was remember the Saint Germain liqueur?
Oh,
That was so good, the elderflower.
mhm.
Of course, that's not. I think I don't know the story of like why it's named for him, but it made me think of that. But yes, I love the color violet as well, and I like, even though personally I'm not I'm not sure like how much I believe in like the literalness of this, but I like it as a concept of something transformative to like the whole healing and purifying and taking challenging things and turning to love and creating something from it. So I think there's a lot to be gained. I know I understand completely why that's a really popular concept in New Age circles. I have no qualm with that.
Yes, yeah. Um, no, and that's another reason I like transiting different groups. It's fun to experience the joy that they experience. It's really enjoyable to be with others and experience their sense of wonder, their sense of joy, and to share in that. And I've been welcomed into so many different communities on my path, in my journeys. Even with them knowing, like, and I'm very upfront about who I am, and my path when I'm working with another group. But I think that openness and that honesty when working with others um, is it engenders a sense of confidence and trust. And so I've been welcomed into many groups and asked to participate in different events. And so it's Dr. Evie and I were in New Orleans several years ago, and we came across a fantastic group that was performing a ritual out in the street, and we were invited to attend, and it was great, and we participated. It was appropriate to our position, as visiting, and it was great. So I definitely encourage that opportunity to travel and meet others, and I don't mean big travel, but meet your community and those fellow members of the community who might be on different paths. So yeah. Let's see. We were talking about hard times. A little something I was thinking about is, and I kind of touched on this at the beginning of, if you've got something that you need to address, if you've determined, hey, I'm having a hard time with something, or just generally, try to break it down. In some like self-help circles, they'll talk about like chunking down the issue. You don't have to swallow the whole elephant. Piece by piece. So maybe we can't make life better today. Can we make the next hour okay? What can we do to make the next hour a little better? So definitely something I recommend, and something when we start to get overwhelmed, Dr. Evie and I will agree. Hey, let's do something. What I mean by this is it doesn't have to be productive. A lot of people feel like, oh, I need to make something better, so I better complete a task. I better make something worthwhile. If that's going to help, cool, go ahead and do that. I would almost encourage you to do something that isn't productive. Maybe something that's for you. What's the current meme? You can have a little something as a little treat.
Yes, gotta have
Um,
my little treats to keep
yeah,
going.
yeah. I Go ahead and have the treat. Go ahead and make a little bit of enjoyment for yourself. Um, right here, right now, in the next hour. There's no harm. There's no fault in that. I mean, unless the place is on fire, I bet you could probably take a moment and enjoy yourself. Dr. Evie is busy. Dr. Evie has a lot going on. Um, I'm very quick to encourage her to go play a video game. Evie's a gamer. She likes PC gaming, and I enjoy watching that. And so I'm always like, if you're stressed out, if things are, we got a lot going on, it's not going to hurt if you want to spend a couple hours, you know, going playing a game, going through and knocking things out like that. I think the brain needs that opportunity for a different sort of task.
To decompress like that, yeah.
Yeah, to
Well, you
decompress.
can kind of turn your brain off, or at least totally switch the tracks. It,
Mhm.
it does help.
I saw a TikTok where someone was talking about the fact that if you are if you have a television series that you return to over and over, that's actually your brain giving yourself space and giving yourself time to decompress. You can with each watch of a television series, you binge a series. Every time you watch it, maybe you pick up something new, something different from it, and that's great. It doesn't have to be that deep. That deep, though. Maybe just watching some cotton candy, some kind of filler type story. That's not a sad waste of your time. These. And I'm gonna pick on guys. These guys that are like, you've got to be uber disciplined, and everything has to have a purpose, and everything has to. Oh my God, give it up, relax.
Have some fun.
Yeah, yeah. I think next week I'm gonna talk about a different subject, but obviously a different subject. But there's this whole thing about like you've got to be rigid and you've got to be, and you realize, but at the same time, it's always about like clean living and all natural and all this. You know that endorphins are all natural. Giving
Hmm.
yourself pleasure, having serotonin, having the happy
Getting the
chemicals.
dopamine hits in.
Yeah, letting your brain do its job is natural, is healthy. And this whole grind set mind is just it's I don't agree with it. I never practiced it. I'm a doctor. I've been successful in business. I'm a happy guy. Have a wonderful wife. Um, and I did not have to every day. I had a lot of fun.
You're a bit of a party animal, exactly. You
I
didn't have to
yeah,
follow some stringent guidelines with absolutely no fun and just work
no,
24/7 to get where you are.
yeah, no. If I'm up at 4 a.m., that was either in the army or I was going fishing or there had to be a reason. I had an early flight. Yeah, there very rarely would I ever be. I'll see 4 a.m. from the other end, but I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. to swallow 3 whole eggs. No, I try to enjoy my life. I try to enjoy breakfast.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
nobody's gonna be on their deathbed and be like, God, I wish I hadn't eaten so many delicious bagels at breakfast or whatever. I
right.
wish I had worked more.
Yeah,
I don't buy that.
yeah. So if you so getting back to what I was saying is if you can make things better for the next hour, do that. If all you can control is the next hour, make it a happy hour. Make it enjoyable in whatever manner speaks to you. And if that means watching 2-3 episodes of Arrested Development,
I
go
better do my yearly watch through.
go for it. I got introduced to Arrested Development through Dr. Evie, and I remember we worked from home, and she was like, "Can I watch this show while we're working?" I'm like, of course, whatever. I'm not gonna be distracted. I'm just gonna be working, and I caught myself just like, the hell was that? What why are they acting? It was, and I was cringing, and then I was just like, oh God, that's embarrassing. No,
It's a comedy show.
and
That's
come
the whole
and,
point.
and come to find out, I actually got into
Hmm.
Arrested Development. So
That's right,
it was
because
kind of
it's the
funny.
best comedy show that's ever been on
I'm not
TV.
gonna say it's the best comedy show, but it was really. But I get it, and
Yes.
so Dr. Evie will watch it occasionally, and I can understand why. You don't have to think too hard. The jokes are actually kind of smart. Um, so yeah, whatever it is, even if you reality TV, even if you need to check out and watch some of the most ridiculous reality TV, do that. Actually, I can't watch Dance Moms. I get too critical.
Yeah, so whenever I put it on, you have to like leave because you'll start becoming a dance mom yourself. Like, why would
Yeah,
you choreograph girls together now? Together.
everyone.
And I'm like, I'm just watching for the mom drama.
She
He's actually critiquing the dances.
I used to be a dancer, so I like dancing, and so yes, when when everything is when everything is disjointed, girls, we're paying good money for you to be here. Let's 1 2 3 1 2 3. And then I get annoyed whenever the camera turns to the mothers and they're all bickering. I'm just like, oh,
That's what it's about.
I don't care about them. just
It's an art form.
just get the routine together, girls. So, but yeah, I would definitely say where you can, choose some pleasure, choose some happiness. Um, so yeah, like I said, yeah, when things are getting heavy, oh, of course, I think it's now a joke at this point, to go outside. The joke became, go touch grass. But there is value in that. Dr. Evie, when I encourage her to step outside, it's I always enjoy her, like, it's kind of like Harry Potter, right? And not just, I'm just gonna say, like, oh, I love magic. Dr. Evie steps outside and she's like, oh, it's so pretty outside. Yes, yes, it's actually nice outside. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, but yeah, I like um, I like when she has an opportunity to come and see the flowers and see the foliage and kind of the little environment that we're creating here. Um, so yeah, and go outside, take a walk, whatever it takes to do something like that. This was a special note I had. It was I thought to myself, text someone and text someone you actually like. You know, text them. The old saying is shared joy is doubled joy. Shared sorrow is half a sorrow. You know, if you've got someone that you can talk to and you can reach out to them with happy, you know, and just say, hey, you know, I'm feeling good. I want to feel good. Um, you know, the hope would be that they're right there with you, and that they'll be joyful and happy with you too, and you can be happy together. If you're having a hard time, share that with them, and sometimes just talking about it with a sympathetic ear is helpful. I like being there for my friends when they're having a tough time. You know, hey, it doesn't cost me anything to listen, and I hope that it ends up being helpful for them too. So definitely, you know, if you're looking to kind of ease the hard times, get out, go do stuff, have connection. That's that. If you look at several of my TikToks, I've got this whole thing where this idea of a male loneliness issue, or you know, I don't know,
Epidemic.
epidemic is silly to me. Um, I grew up in a volunteering family, and so you know, you participate, you get out and you do things. I'll plug the United Way here. You know, if you if you feel lonely, if you feel like you don't have enough going on in life, if you feel like you don't have purpose, um, you know, if you need to feel something, go to the United Way. Especially, you know, if you're a young man, go to the United Way. Say, I'm able-bodied. I'm strong. I'm here. Where do you want me? I can tell you they probably have a half dozen agencies that would love to have you show up, you know, and you can move boxes at the, you know, food pantry, you know, Habitat for Humanity. Go learn go learn how to frame a house. Go learn roofing or something.
It's a great way to make friends, really.
Yes, and the purpose of that is that you then have connection in the world. You know, I think too often we're here on screen with each other, but then, you know, when you look past the screen, you're in your room. You know, you're in a room. Um, you got to break out of that sometimes. And so get out there. You know, even if you're volunteering for, you know, just a half day, you know, once a week, or you know, a couple hours once a week, that's going to build character. You know, it's going to get you out. It's going to expose you to other people. I think that's also important. If you have a friends group, that's great. Are they all the same age? Are they all roughly the same age? Um, Talk to some older people. Talk to some younger people. You know, depending on where you are in your lifespan, you've got to get out there and talk to others. You know, because otherwise you start to get these ideas of, you know, wow, you know, this generation is crazy, that generation is lazy, or this, you know, whatever. Um, get out there and talk to other people, meet other people, make those connections, and yeah, you'll experience a lot. And I think that that's actually character building. And then, you know, suddenly loneliness won't be as prevalent. If you're looking to meet people, if you're looking to date, I'm not saying you're going to date the people that you're volunteering with, but if you're hanging out, you know, if you're a young guy and you're hanging out with older adults, you know, if they see you, you know, behaving with good character, and I don't mean, you know, you're like a moral, upstanding citizen. I don't mean it like that. But if they show that, but if you can show and demonstrate that you're actually concerned and care about others, you have empathy, that you care about your community, those are some good
That's an
qualities.
attractive quality for
Right.
friendship or romance or anything.
Right.
I've made so many friends at like charity and volunteering events.
Hmm.
It really is a good environment. Yeah, it's great to get out there and meet people that are maybe outside of who might be in your direct circle, like you were saying.
Yeah. You know, I'm not saying don't do you don't have to do what I did. You know, you don't have to chuck it all and go join the army. It was fun. I had a good time, but you know, but you know that's that again. Going back to the earlier thing, sometimes I make rash decisions, but it was fun. I had a good time. You don't have to do that, but you know, definitely get out into your community, learn about your surroundings, learn about the other people, make some connections, have some fun, and yeah, you might actually meet make connections that lead to other things in a good way. Um, let's see. Oh, I touched on this. Earned joy. This is the note I had. When I said go and enjoy yourself. Go ahead and have that treat. I think we're often raised, or I was raised with this idea of, if you complete this task, you can have a treat afterwards. That's good training for children. If you want to do that, if that's like a how you want to, a method of how you want to teach responsibility to children. You're an adult now. You don't have to carrot and stick the whole scenario.
I
If
deserve a treat just for existing, in my opinion.
yes,
Existing is hard. Being human is hard.
and like I said, like I started this whole thing with the idea that times are tough. Things are difficult right now. Go ahead and make, if you have a special meal you like to make, if you've got a special dish or dinner or whatever treat, go ahead and do that. Make purposefully make a meal you like. Purposefully, like I said, watch a television show, anything like that. Go ahead and treat yourself. And I don't mean be overindulgent. I'm not saying,
Mhm.
obviously the goal isn't to create more harm. The goal isn't to create a worse situation. I guess what I'm saying is moderation. You don't have to be like those guys that are like, oh, rigid, hard life, and we're going to be Spartans. You're not a Spartan, but they've got this whole idea of like, I'm going to live this disciplined and life. Take it easy, relax. You can go ahead and have some ice cream, have a treat, watch a movie, whatever it is that will help you kind of relax in the next hour or two. Go ahead and do that.
It's
You
good
know,
for your brain. You don't
it,
want to be anxious and stressed all the time
yeah,
unnecessarily.
that's yeah, that's uh, not harping on the military, but I mean, that's part of training. There's several elements of training where you're denied food, you're denied water, and you're put through a lot of stressful situations, and you don't get to sleep. A couple hours a night, or day, you get 2, 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep. But that's intentional. That's training for a particular scenario that that everyone hopes that you would not have to be in, but that's the whole idea. You don't have to live life like that. There is no scenario in which you are living right now. I mean, again, I'm talking just average American. There's no scenario that you're going to engage in that requires you to be able to lift X amount of weight, bench this much. It's required that you have this percent body fat or anything like that. I mean, unless you're competing in
Unless you're a bodybuilder,
yeah, I mean,
athlete.
yeah, I mean, as long as you make your shift tomorrow at 9 a.m., cool. I mean, so get 8 hours of sleep, feel good, do what it takes to make it through the day, through the night, and yeah, then go to work, pay your bills, spend some time with some friends. Like I said, make connections in the world, in your community. Read. I can't stress this enough. I love reading. I read everything, a lot. Um, listen to music, listen to a lot of music, watch a lot of film, um, take in stories, take in stories. Um, so that's my advice there. You don't have to earn your joy. You don't have to earn your reward. You're alive right now. Your reward is whatever you want to make it. So if your reward is, I'm going to have a bowl of ice cream, fantastic. I support that. Get a good 8 hours of sleep, drink water, stay hydrated, and then start tomorrow. So yeah, definitely don't don't get in this mindset that you have to suffer constantly. I don't know what you're training for, if you're training for anything, but just because some guy is yelling at you to get up early, do bunches of push-ups and sit-ups, you know he's just a little voice, a little box. Maybe they're selling you something. I don't know, but I don't dig that. Live your life. Um, let's see. I was gonna say, yeah, vulnerability. Yeah, yeah, don't withdraw. And this gets into the whole, communication. Get out there with people. Um, oh, when you're having a hard time, make sure to, and I mentioned this at the beginning, to keep it in perspective. Um, you it's not some big cosmic thing. You are not being punished. And we were talking earlier about different paths, um, karma, or whatever. hopefully no one's picking on you. If you're having a hard time, if it's personally directed, that's definitely something to address. But if you're generally just having, it's a tough time, it's not the universe, it's not cosmic, it's also not personal. It is just kind of a situation. So trying to keep things in perspective is definitely helpful. um, and you can do one of two things, or there are a lot of options, but if it helps you to look at this grandly and romanticize it. When I was, when Dr. Evie and I were, when we were pursuing like our doctorates, um, it's obviously it's very difficult, but at the same time, there was kind of a romantic vision there. So, if you're going to put yourself in a difficult situation, and you're taking that on, cool, go ahead and build a story around it. Make it interesting, romanticize it. But if you're having a hard time due to some external force that you can't control, you know, I, I don't know if romanticizing that is helpful, but you know, I trust you. I trust you to think about it, but that's the thing, is you got to think about it. Don't overblow it. Don't it's not life ending. It's not, the world isn't crashing around you. Um, it's You're probably having, bad day, bad week, but things pass, and try to seek that comfort where you can. Let's see.
Yeah, life is hard enough without trying to, see suffering as holy and, without purposefully making things more challenging because you think it'll grow your character. It's okay to take it easy where you can. Take
Yeah.
those little wins, please.
Yes. Yes. So that's these are this is kind of what I wanted to talk about today, this evening. Generally speaking, be brave, go be in love. That This is kind of a general, just always message from us. I love love, so go out there and be brave. And when I say love, if there are different kinds of love. There's fraternal love. There's platonic love. There's romantic love. Going out and volunteering is an act of love. Going out and being with your community, going out and spending time helping others, that's a good way to learn how to love. And I mean broadly, in a big way. And that big love, that big feeling, that shows. So, go and do that. Go be brave. Remember, joy is not a reward. Joy is a right. You have the right to be joyful. You have the right to be happy. Don't let anyone take your happiness away if you can help it. I mean, happiness, what's the saying? Happiness isn't a destination. It's
The journey.
Yeah, well, I think it's something like, it's a it's a garden. Yeah, I know there's so many
There's so many quotes like that.
mixed metaphors, but essentially, like, happiness is a garden that you tend.
Hmm. That's so
So
true, though.
yeah, so
You
tend to
gotta
your
work on it.
right. So tend to your happiness. If someone's interfering with that, maybe you need to boot them from the garden. I don't know. But think about that. But what really angers me, and I shouldn't say it, it doesn't anger me. It's so disappointing to me when people listen to, generally, some dude online taking away their happiness. This whole idea again of discipline. I have discipline out the ass. I'm very disciplined. Like I said, I've done a lot of things that require discipline. I am not a fanatic, or I don't worship at the altar of discipline. So when these guys are hawking, when they're selling discipline as a cure-all for everything, if you show any sign of weakness, if you ever deviate from discipline, if you ever just go out and have fun, they're disappointed, or at least they act like they're disappointed in you, and then they get to enjoy their condemnation of you. I would never do that. I want you to be happy. I want you to go, have a good time, um, because I trust you to go and do good things, take care of yourself, take care of your community, all the things that you need to do. I trust you in that. So it's always disappointing to me when I see people taking others' happiness away, and they do that through guilt. And so when these guys are like, "Oh, you're weak," and "Oh, I can't believe you ate that, or you missed leg day, or something like that." Oh man, give it a break. Life's hard. Go take a break. It's all right. Anyway, I don't know. Anything else I should talk about, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean,
That was a lot. That was certainly me yammering. So, but it's always fun. I like hanging out. It's always great to hang out with everyone. Yeah. So we'll. Tomorrow. Tomorrow is Q&A day. So all week long we've been getting questions DM'd, emailed to us. That's what I was gonna say. DM us if you have any questions.
yes, you can DM us. I think it should work on TikTok. Also on
TikTok.
Instagram, Kindred Hearts Embraced. We're pretty much Kindred Hearts Embraced anywhere.
Yeah,
You can
YouTube.
also submit anything via our website, kindredheartsembraced.com.
Yeah. Email us
Yeah.
go to the website. You can find our email there. But yeah, send us a question. But yeah, tomorrow is Q&A day, so I'll be taking your questions that we've already received and talking about that. But I think that's it.
I just put our email in the chat as well.
Cool, perfect. All right. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, take care. Bye.